Hey, welcome to the Hired AV podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. All right, how are you all liking the new bumper video? Okay, this is now the fourth time I'm actually trying to act professional. I don't know how long that'll last, but I got tired of talking over my music and then knowing when to fade it. So it's amazing what AI can create if you just put the right prompts in. Got myself my own little 14-second bumper video. And I mentioned what AI can create because that's going to roll us into the whole purpose of this episode. I'm starting my pre-ISE series today. So the next few weeks, everyone, I guess Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all those things that went by, even though, as you know, the behind the scenes, I'm actually recording this. Actually, it is in the middle of Hanukkah right now, I guess, actually. But this is pre-Christmas, pre-New Year's. You're listening to this on January 6th. But so if you had a great holidays. And also, though, I'm beginning this week with our first ISE show, going for the next 4 weeks leading up to that. So a lot of preview episodes and things going on and things that HETMA is doing there, along with some other partners. I'm going to be talking about all that, which does lead us into the first one today. I'm really excited about this. You're going to see why I made the AI comment early up front with my wonderful new bumper video. But again, everyone's favorite part of the show where I stop talking and our guest does. So Byron, welcome to the show. Please tell people who you are and what you do.
Well, awesome to be here, Joe. Byron Tarry. I'm, amongst other things, I guess, the founder and Chief Transformation Officer is the title I bestowed upon myself of NEXXT, and we really kicked off at Infocom this year as an organization, but essentially here to try and drive education and enablement and activation of this transformation opportunity in an AI age within the industry. And so that's, I guess, a core to our discussions today and some of the alignment that we've built between HETMA and NEXXT to try and keep driving some of that imperative.
Yeah. First, I love what you do. I want to get into NEXXT first and the purpose. Is it okay? If I say, I'm going to say that you're the official kind of AI organization, AI focused organization for the AV industry, or at least you've kind of said this is going to be, what you're building an org around this phenomenon that is AI. So can you back us up and go, how did you even get to going, we need something here?
Sure. So I guess to step back a little bit, I spent the better part of 15 years highly involved with, and most of that leading the GPA organization. And then about 2 years ago, I guess, 2.5 years ago, as we were all sort of going through that phenomenon of ChatGPT arrived, and suddenly AI went from being this abstract thing that maybe powered my Google Maps or something in the background to being real and tangible for all of us. And it took me sort of 6 months or so to travel the journey, I think, that most are traveling at some point. And that's, I think there's something here, and what is this? And let me play around with it. And there's so much stuff here, I don't really know where to start. And particularly more and more pressure to say, you got to be doing something. You got to be doing something here. If you're not on this AI thing, you're behind. And I think in the absence of having a clear path to go, that actually becomes overwhelming, because when there's infinite possibility and infinite cheerleading and infinite story around what you should be doing, then in fact it becomes almost overwhelming, and you have to sit back and sort of bury your head in the sand, perhaps, to just avoid being overwhelmed. And so that in conjunction with always having been a pretty sort of forward, future-facing, innovation-focused kind of a person, I started looking at that. What did that mean to the industry? And there really wasn't anyone or anything in the industry that allowed you as someone from the industry to go, that's a voice that I trust. That's a story that resonates to me, that aligns to what I'm doing, and so on. So that really sort of became that foundation. So I guess as then I started to challenge myself, there were some logical milestones that were sort of coming up in my life professionally and personally that made sense to say, maybe this is the time to go jump into this incredible moment of opportunity that AI is opening up. I see that AI is one of the most, if not the most, collaborative technology that we've ever developed as a race. And so, if we're the collaboration industry, shouldn't we be leading in this moment? Shouldn't we be stepping up and actually being at the forefront of this conversation and setting some of the imperative as opposed to just waiting for others? And as an industry, we're not always great at doing that, and so you need some catalysts to do that. And so that was really the genesis of NEXXT, to say, how can we step up and create that place and space for, even if it's only some portion of the industry that's ready to jump into that at the moment. We don't need 100%. We can let the late majority and the laggards and so on step in later, but there's plenty of people like you and so on that want to be at the forefront of this, and so NEXXT is really built to be an enabler for that.
I love that. And I'm really excited about what you're doing. You've got your own community building, so everyone knows. I mean, actually, Byron hopped on a call a long time ago, it was probably only 6 months now, if that, right? Probably not even that. A long time in the AV industry, it seems. Now, about building that community and I love it, because I love what you're doing, especially from a higher ed point of view. If I'm going to talk about this, you can't avoid AI. I mean, you can't avoid AI buzzword anywhere in the world anymore, but especially in higher education, right? Whether it's, you have faculty that are worried about students doing paper writing with it, or to the flip side, actually leveraging it to do complex, high quantum computing and making it take a oomph of a sec time that used to take weeks, right? So you've got all these extremes of where we're trying to figure out where does that fit in higher ed. And so that's why, to me, there was a natural fit with, hey, Hetman NEXXT, we got to become, alliance partners in this. Like, we have to support one another because it's hitting it, but also the AV industry. So I want to ask you, because I get this all the time if I'm, on some webinar or something, and then of course AI comes in, and then it gets this question: well, where does AI fit in the AV industry? Is it just going to write my emails and schedule my meetings? Or is it cameras that track, which we've had cameras that track for 20 years. Okay. So to you, where does AI fit in the AV industry?
Yeah, great question.
I know. That's
we
why
get
I'm
caught
the
on
host.
this. We get caught on this premise of throwing those two letters out and like it's the answer, and it's not the answer. It's just it's not even a tool. It's a toolbox, if not something far greater than that. And so you can apply it to anything and everything. And so, within the industry, that can touch simply the way we run our businesses and organizations and so on. It can touch the products, but I'm actually less concerned about the product itself, as you said. I mean, in many instances, it's something that's been in the box for years, and we just now think that if we put those two letters on the front of my box, I'm suddenly progressive and so on. The transformation proposition, and the reason why there's no AI in the NEXXT brand, it's actually transformation oriented, is what that transformation enablement opportunity actually is. And so I get excited about business model transformation, as we can start to capture analytics, for example, and change the accountability factor from we're just the guys that go hang stuff on walls to we're the guys that actually are accountable for driving greater collaborative outputs, for example, and outcomes. So I think that gets exciting as you get away from, look, every business, every organization is facing how do we drive efficiency and opportunity in the sort of day-to-day operations. But as you look at that imperative of us as an industry and what does this mean, I get excited by how's this going to change workflow in whether that's learning pedagogy, whether that's in corporate meetings. And as you start to, we'll get to the event that we're running at ISE in a second, but three concepts that we'll talk about there: agents, automation, and analytics. What between those three things is going to really transformationally change the way we are interfacing in these collaborative spaces that we build? So what happens when we've now got proactive digital collaborants in the discussion as opposed to just humans? What happens when we can actually measure different outcomes in terms of that analytical sort of proposition? All of those are things that get really exciting as you start to say the very nature of meeting and learning and teaching and so on will shift in the years to come. And isn't that cool that we can literally start with with almost a blank canvas of the real whys of what we do here, and we often get far too caught in the hows of the technology and so on. But what are the real whys that frankly excite us, that keep us in this industry? We could all be plugging in network switches if we really wanted to, and be in the technology space. But it's that creative, collaborative element, I think, combined with the technology that certainly has excited me in the industry for 30 years, and I'm pretty sure what keeps you motivated as well to what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I love what you're doing with the organization. I'm to all the listeners, you go over to just go over to NEXXT Now. Is it .com, .org? It's in my thing.
NEXXTnow.com.
NEXXTnow.com. And go in and make
double X in the next.
Double X, NEXXT. Or you just go to the HETMA site and you'll see the logo on the side and you link to it, and there you go. And we connect as an alliance partner straight to them. So, but do sign up, get into the community, and join that conversation. So I encourage everyone. It's a great partnership. This is just a great organization, great focus, especially just to change your career. I mean, we know in higher ed, our bosses are asking us all the time, how is this impacting us? How can we leverage it? All of those types of questions. This is a community of high level thought leaders are all in here. And in that community. So join the conversation.
Well, just a caveat to that as well. I mean, what I want people to understand is this is not a thing that the executives are focused on.
Good point.
This should and can and does touch everyone. And indeed, I've got some stories on our community. NEXXT actually has a digital community just like HETMA, and actually we run on the same platform. So it'd be very familiar, but connect.nextnow.com is how you can sign up to that. But I've got some great stories on there of frontline resources. In fact, it's the technicians, the people on the front line, the digital natives that have as much opportunity to lead in this moment as the executives. And I think that's a really important part of that discussion. No one in the industry, no one generally should feel like leadership in this moment, the ability to seize the moment of opportunity and innovation and think different approach. And frankly, we know that the younger generation do think very differently to us old guys. And so, I'd encourage anyone and everyone, whether you're a frontline, room support technician, or whether you're an executive leader like you, Joe, to feel that they have a place in this discussion, and certainly a place within the NEXXT community.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for putting that there, because that's exactly, that's HETMA too, right? We have everyone from techs, new people trying to get their certification, all the way up to executive leaders. So you can see that alignment. Now, okay, so you've been around officially launching at InfoComm, and now you've got already a summit that been run on the Sunday and Monday before ISE show floor opens. Thank everybody. You're used to going to InfoComm and going to the HETMA Education Summit the 2 days before the show floor opens. No different. HETMA's coming in. We are supporting. We're everythinging this summit. It is eXplore ISE 26. I got it right. And so once you first start by giving us the overview of, so quickly, why you're going to do it automatically. We will go through each section. It's set up into 3 blocks, very similar to the HETMA Education Summit. We will get into that, but let's start with the why and what you hope it achieves. Like, why do we even start it? And by the end of it, someone walks away and goes, you call it a success if ...
For sure. Well, look, at a minimum, why do it? Well, because Mike Blackman was kind enough to say, if you build it, we'll give you the space and so on to do it. So a little bit of history. NEXXT really formed out of me pulling together about 15 industry leaders at ISE last year, and Mike was good enough to give me a room, and we just sat around, and NEXXT didn't exist at that point. We just sat around and said, well, what does this moment mean for the industry, and what does it need, and so on. And so I guess as the anniversary of that catalytic discussion, it was that discussion that led me to sort of go away say, look, I think there is an opportunity, a need for the type of thing that NEXXT is now doing, and so on. And so that's what led us to debut at Infocom a few, 5 months later, I guess. And then Mike was good enough to say, well, look, why don't you build something for this year? So for a start, we've got some space now. Well, what do we do? Why would we tackle this? Well, look, the reality is ISE is the show, is the space to bring 80,000 of our industry together. So, we'd be crazy not to try and create some sort of imperative to fulfill that mission that we've said of enablement and education and building that sort of momentum that we need. And so ultimately then we sort of looked at it, well, what does this mean? Who are the types of people that come? And we certainly wanted to cater to that breadth of audience, from the executives and the imperative that they're facing of how do I guide and steer an organization in this moment of rapid change? How do I create the mindsets and the culture for this change imperative that's going on, all the way through to who are those front lines that want to sit in a room and experiment and fool around and just see what we can build in this sort of rapid ideation type proposition. And so that's the journey we'll travel over the course of a day and a half, starting with the audience that is probably the more executive. As we get closer and closer to the show, those executives often get pulled off to other events and so on. And so as we get closer to the show, we shift more and more from 30,000 feet down to the 1,000-foot level, and we actually go build some stuff. So that's the kind of idea of the journey we'll travel over those 2 days.
Yeah. First off, I love the setup of it, and I think it makes sense for the different personas of people who come to ISE, from executive leadership to those who are coding away, and making it tangible. So, I guess let's start with Sunday night. Okay. Sunday night, that's February 1st. I get in. When do you get in? I leave Friday from the West Coast and get in Saturday morning. When do you get in?
Same, actually, yeah.
So these days screw me up going that way. So Sunday, February 1st, starting in the afternoon. Do we have a time yet? What time we actually
2 p.m. is the kickoff. So hopefully anyone in Europe that can jump on a flight that morning even can be there for Sunday afternoon, and anyone coming in from the Americas and so on. Worst case, maybe you pull a red eye overnight and try and catch an hour or two of sleep, and then come and
it's perfect.
Keep yourself awake and excited for the rest of the afternoon, so that you can try and get a bit acclimatized to the European time.
So I have put here on the ticker, everybody, ise.nextnow.com is where you can actually register and find the whole schedule. I'll also put it in the show notes. But Byron, all right, so we're on Sunday night. Tell us what the theme of Sunday night or Sunday afternoon night is.
Yeah, so really it's built around not so much the sort of innovation imperative of the technology and so on. It's that leadership imperative that executives have. How am I creating that culture? As I said, how am I rethinking my organization from challenging my executives, and how, as an executive organization, are we challenging the legacy of our organization, trying to break the sort of broader norms, but particularly empowering that whole team. So how are we rethinking job descriptions and mandate to our teams to say, if you're starting small and you saved yourself 2 hours in some workflow with AI, I want you to go reinvest an hour of that into experimentation, rather than just doing more of the doing. I can give you an extra project now, or I can get you to write another proposal. In fact, I want you to reinvest some of that time, just as we do from a financial standpoint. Take your earnings and go reinvest them, and so on. And so I think we'll talk about those types of things. And some combination of keynote. We've got a great keynote speaker coming in, a guy by the name of Richard Mulholland, who I've loved for years. I call him an inside outsider. He started out as a rock and roll roadie, then moved into corporate events in a technical role, and then started to realize that frankly some of those presenters standing up are not so great dynamic presenters, and so couldn't we make this event a whole lot better by coaching them, and so on. Built an events company basically, and then has built a whole bunch of other companies. Most recently has launched an AI sort of consultancy business as well, but it's all built around disruption. He's a bit irreverent. He'll drop the odd F-bomb here and there. He's got tattoos up his arms, but he's the electricity that'll kind of ignite us into think different, disruption, and so on. And then the back half of the event is really we've got Simon Dudley, who's going to ex-Logitech for I think many would know that name. He's going to challenge us a little bit on competitive intelligence and how we need to be thinking and looking at ourselves, not just internally, but even externally, for all these new entrants that might come into the space and so on. And then we'll break out into some table discussion, and then sort of open the room up to broad discussion, because frankly there's no experts in this moment. We're all traveling these journeys, and the power of that sort of open sourcing of knowledge and learning is really the key. So it'll be a bunch of interactivity as well, as executives all want to get their voice and so on into the discussion. So Sunday, I hope will be pretty dynamic roundtable type discussion to just get leadership putting their thinking out there, and for us to all kind of piggyback on top of that.
Yeah, I'm looking so forward to it. And then we're going to leave there and have a little couple of reception drinks, a little cocktail across the way. So, once
a libation or two always helps with some creativity.
Yeah, indeed it does. Indeed it is. I'm running up from the show floor after, so everyone knows, HETMA booth 2W400. Stop by when the show floor opens, HETMA booth 2W400. We'll be setting it up that morning and running up to the event. Then we've closed that down. We had a couple of drinks together afterwards, and then Monday morning comes. 2 session blocks. So start with the first one in the morning, kind of the target theme on the morning session on Monday. That's Monday, February 2nd.
Yeah, so Monday morning, I think we'll probably have the largest audience, and is a bit less collaborative involved, I guess, because just from a format standpoint, as the audience grows bigger, that gets a bit harder. But some great content coming through there, really around sort of the premise of innovation as a methodology. Innovation isn't just Steve Jobs magically coming up with the iPod and so on. Innovation has methodology. If you go look at Google X Labs, I love Astro Teller's sort of structure of what Google built of how do you create experimentation within broadly Google from an enterprise standpoint needs to operate in 5 nines kind of reliability, but how do we go sort of create this culture of innovation and fail fast, fail forward kind of propositions? And so as an industry, we don't really have a history and experience in that real aggressive innovation proposition. It doesn't carry down through the culture of our industry necessarily, maybe a bit more so in the vendors, but and so we'll explore what that disruptive innovation kind of process looks like, and really build some foundations. If you carry on into the afternoon, that we'll talk about in a second, it's really the foundation of applying what we learn in the morning to the afternoon's sort of more messy ideation innovation. But frankly, hopefully, it just becomes a foundation, even if you aren't attending the afternoon session, to feel like you've got some tools to go back to the office, to the university, wherever you live and work, to feel like I could do that. I could grab 3 or 4 people and follow that kind of a process, or I can think like that. That gave me some sort of sparks to be able to tackle a bit of a think different approach. So we'll travel a combination of things from an acronym that I call REACTION, that basically takes you through the journey from recognition of opportunity in the first instance all the way through experimentation and testing, and into the ON is operationalization and normalization, as we have to take that change imperative and actually get the constituents that we serve to adopt and embrace that. So we'll hear from Well, Richard Mulholland, again, this great keynote speaker to kick things off and spark us off. But we'll actually build some stuff on stage. I've got a young kid that that actually came from being a technician in the industry and wanted to go to programming school at Crestron and so on, didn't get picked and started building himself AI, and now is literally building stuff every day and posting and so on. So we're actually going to try and build something on stage over the course of the afternoon and so on. We'll hear some case study stories. There's a great higher education case study story that we're going to have on stage. Andy Lee from the University of the Arts in London and how they're using audio capture to then feed into AI and literally changing the very foundations of their pedagogy of how they're teaching and so on. So very much some higher ed focused storyline, as much as what often tends to be the case. The corporate stuff tends to sort of capture the meeting and collaboration piece. But
I'm keeping you honest on it and trying to keep you honest.
which is part of that support and relationship that you've provided. We wanted to make sure we kept that breadth of audience broad, and so no one should feel that this is a corporate or a higher education specific thing. This is, we're all in this thing together, and frankly, I think in this moment the opportunity for greater collaboration between the higher ed sector that's got that culture of innovation and experimentation and research and so on, the need for that alignment across into the corporate space has never been stronger, and that's a part of the relationship and the foundations to why we've found this great partnership between NEXXT and HETMA.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so then now afternoon, we break for lunch, afternoon session. You said making it more tangible. What can someone expect out of that afternoon session?
Well, that'll heavily be up to them, but essentially it's not going to be a bunch of stage presentation. We'll give 15 minutes of guidance, and then we're going to break people up into groups of a half a dozen or so. We'll take a very, very lightweight problem that will be different for each of the table groups, and we're going to try and mix those table groups up to get diversity in them and so on. And then we're going to say, you got 2.5, 3 hours to just go at it, and depending upon the skill sets and the ideation that comes out of it, maybe some people jump into Replit and they'll actually build an app, or others will build a business case for a new productized offering or something. But the groups will be largely just steered by themselves until we get to about 5 o'clock, and then the last hour or so we'll ask the groups to come back and actually present out, and we might have a bit of fun of judging. Maybe there'll be a prize or two for the best idea that comes out of this. But some of our vendor partners that are supporting us will help us sort of steer some of that problem. And look, hopefully, hey, there's a couple of great ideas that come out of it and actually get action, whether they're what an integrator could take back and apply into their business, or maybe one of the vendors that decides they want to go pursue something. So it's really that messy innovation hub, that sort of sprint or hackathon kind of a concept, to say, let's just get the smart guys that want to be aggressive and have some fun in terms of some of this, and so we'll keep it fairly lightweight and just see what interesting stuff comes out of it. So apply that morning innovation mindset to what could be, and frankly, that is, we have this problem as an industry, and it's a human condition, I guess, that I don't really want to share my mistakes, my messy stuff, but actually in this moment, that's such an important thing to do, that I tried this and it failed is actually as important as I tried this and succeeded. And very few of the projects that people are tackling right now are perfect and clean and fully deployed and implemented and so on. And so, this in part is to spark 6 people sitting at a table talking about some of their mistakes as much as their successes, and how does that sum of the whole become far greater than the sum of the parts in what we might learn and so on. So worst case, you come out of it having heard from 5 others that were doing different things, and just build your toolkit as much as the hope is we get some cool ideas out of the end of it.
That is awesome. I love it. So really, to kind of put this in terms for everybody, you show up on Sunday afternoon. We've got thought leadership, then we've got practical, then application and learning on how to, and then going and doing it and saying, let me put it into practice. It's a whole life cycle of of taking this concept that's coming and taking over our industry and putting it into that day and a half. So let's get down to the best part. The total cost to attend this is
total cost of $0. Thanks.
Exactly $0. That's right. Use the HETMA code. Actually, no, it's the same for everybody, but you know what? Again, so that is the awesome part. They're obviously, and I'm throwing this out there because I know that all of our sponsors will do listen to the show. If you are an audiovisual company or whatever too, reach out to Byron, because it's hard to do things that cost zero without great partners and sponsors. So I do encourage you, especially if you have a product that aligns with this, and aligns with the direction of NEXXT. I do reach out and get yourself and your company seen there. So that's the commercial for that part. But also the other question is, so we had this conversation in some kind of pre-planning meetings for this of, it's okay. People, like, let's say, I'm already trying to get my boss to approve hotel and travel. If let's say they can only come in late Sunday night, then maybe just add one night's hotel or come in early Monday. You don't have to attend each session, right? And that's why they're blocked on specific things. And maybe you're executive leader and you're busy on Monday and you can only make the Sunday night, right? But you want to be part of that conversation, or vice versa. You're a tech. You don't want to hear what your bosses have to say, but you want to get your hands dirty, right? You can just come to those sessions. So I just answered the question I was about to ask you, but tell us more about that. You don't have to, here, would you like to add some comment?
Well, the only one would be that look, the execs are often the ones that can make the decision as to when they travel and can change a flight and so on. But my encouragement to any of those with that authority and power is to go find one person in your organization that should be in the Monday, and especially perhaps the Monday afternoon. That's a part of building that culture in your organization, to give people the license to go and experiment and have fun with it. So the tendency is that the execs decide that they need to come to these things to set their imperative. But I'd really encourage every executive leader or even middle management resource to find someone in the front lines and try and say, you know what, I'm going to invest in you. I've already invested in you in coming to the show. Chances are you're already probably at the top of the stack in terms of belief by making that investment. Worst case, I'm going to get you to change your flight and make sure that you get into some of that Monday agenda that really gives you the spark and the confidence and the mandate and the authority to go and get into this sort of experimentation concept. So that would be a key message. Bring a buddy, basically, to some of this agenda.
Yep. I mean, and honestly, even if you're, if you're in Europe, somehow you all can fly everywhere in 2 hours. It drives me crazy. We can't do that here. But think about that. If you were already planning on coming in Monday night because the show floor opens on Tuesday morning, just get on the 6 a.m. flight. Get on the 6 a.m. flight wherever you're at. Come in, go straight from the airport into the show. We'll find a place to stuff your bag until you can go and check into your hotel. But I do encourage that. If you can add an extra night, come for the whole thing. It's going to be an incredible event. I am definitely looking forward to it. And I just, obviously people know I'm big into AI. I'm big into innovation. I'm big into automation, which I think is where AI has some huge opportunities too, just for us to be more effective in our work. So I'm looking forward to all of it and everything that we're going to be covering over those couple of days. So I guess, so Byron, before we kind of move over to the rapid round, it's your first time on the show, so I got to put you through the gauntlet everybody else does. Any last comments about the summit?
Look, I mean, the hard part for any new organization is building that breadth of awareness and so on. And so, look, if you are AI progressive, you're excited by this moment. Leadership is more than just sort of showing up in the room and selling yourself. It's advocating that this is an important moment for us. Look, as an industry, if we let, in a converging environment where it's certainly not just us as little old AV industry that's going to be driving this. There's convergences coming from real estate, from all sorts of places, and so on. And so let's be at the forefront of leadership here. And so my encouragement, my ask, both practically and sort of more emotionally, is go and advocate for this. Create a bit of awareness. Talk to a vendor, talk to a peer, talk to a competitor even, and say, look, this is beyond just the sort of narrow practical. This is an important discussion we as an industry need to be having. And so then with that premise, if we can fill the room, the more knowledge and people that we can bring in the room, the better. One little cool thing, I guess, I have a separate initiative that's built around trying to bring AI to the events world, and how do we capture the collective knowledge of the people there and make events a bit more intentional than serendipitous in the people that we meet and the content that we learn and the ability to draw on that content afterwards. So we're gonna debut, hopefully, the sort of early MVP version of that. So we'll actually live and apply the thinking of disruption and so on to that. So there's a little bit of a start, but ultimately, I guess, let's make sure that this discussion has got the right voices in the room and ultimately kicks off that pathway for everyone into a show that I'm sure almost every booth will have some sort of version of AI stuck on a product or on their banners and so on. But how do you sort the wheat from the chaff? How do you to really find where that true innovation is coming from, as opposed to I've got camera tracking with AI, which in fact isn't anything new and is really just a feature. So in part, my hope is that this becomes a catalyst that people can go into the show and actually sort of spread that wider imperative and challenge the entire ecosystem to say this is an important moment for us. So I guess a couple of things from advocacy all the way through to application, and let's play that leadership role that we all should.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. You're a good salesperson on this. I love it. No, this is going to be an incredible event. I'm looking forward to spending the week there with you. All right, rapid round. So here's how the rapid round works. Just random questions. There are no right or wrong answers, unless I might have an opinion of my own and you might have a wrong answer. And so everybody gets the same first question. Now, you don't work in higher ed, but you're familiar with it. So higher ed is all about tradition. Okay. So what is your favorite college tradition?
Oh, well, I'll admit that I actually only did 6 months of college before I then did the obligatory Australian thing and went traveling, and then came back and ended up almost ready to go back to college as a theatre stage management program, and then got offered a job and have never left the industry. So I guess haven't got a whole lot of college pedigree to say what that tradition is, but so maybe I'll leave it at that rather than
well, it can be collecting POs from higher ed institutions to do work there, right?
Well, that would help, but certainly I guess just that collaborative. I think there's just an opportunity for students to come in with those fresh mindsets and so on. So I mean, the broader higher education premise of that freedom to think and experiment and so on that's perhaps a very high level thing. It's not toga parties or anything, but certainly that 6 months that I spent was pretty cool in the architecture program.
Awesome. All right. So where is home base for you?
Vancouver in Canada. Grown up in Australia, so West Coast Aussie, became a West Coast Canadian.
All right. So you're just kind of above me then, we're just
up the I-5 a little bit.
Yeah, just a bit up the I-5. And we're up early too, doing the 7 a.m. recording this, So, all right, that being said, let's say, I decided to take a drive up the coast, the beautiful coast, mostly beautiful coast. And then we go up there, I go visit. I'm a foodie, I'm a drinker. Where are you taking me? What are we eating? What are we drinking? Where are we going?
Well, we're on the ocean. Sushi and Japanese is pretty cool. There's the inventor of the California roll, Tojo-san, has a restaurant here, and you just basically go sit at the bar and tell him to make anything, and you'll have the best experience you can from a food standpoint. Bring your checkbook; it's not cheap, but incredible experience. But culinary, Vancouver's an amazing city. There's hundreds of restaurants that I could recommend. Where you go, very outdoorsy, Pacific Northwest. Head to Whistler, or indeed, all sorts of skiing in the winter. Get outdoors, I guess.
All right. Yeah. So, all right. But I like the idea of going to Canada to get a California roll when I live in LA. There we go. It is what. Welcome to a modern world. Okay. So now, I got to ask a Barcelona question then. Red sangria, white sangria, or cava? Which one?
I'm not a huge sangria person, so I guess a good cava.
All right, fair enough. The right answer is red sangria, but I will accept that.
Maybe you can find me a good place to have a good sangria.
Not La Rambla. Don't go any of the tourist stops. You got to go into like a paella place or something along those lines. They usually will make it a little bit more fresh. Maybe throw a little brandy in with it or something like that. That kind of gives it a bit. So yeah,
give me a good paella and a good red, a good Spanish red. Heavy red. Don't mix it up with all the fruit and all the rest of the stuff. Just a good Rioja or something like that.
All right. Acceptable answer as well. Okay. So now we're going to play a little game of hot and cold, an AI hot and cold. I'm going to rapid things at you, and you say, it's hot. I agree. I will do it. I'm bullish on it. Cold. I disagree. Wouldn't do it. Skeptical. All right. Here we go. AI can draft your emails for you and send them without your knowledge. I know it can, but where are you on that? Doing that? Cold.
I've never had a single email that I've had written in AI that I feel comfortable enough to say, send it without me.
All right. Do you think there's possibility in the future?
Yeah, but I guess I'm one that thinks that it's a partner, not a replacement.
All right. I like it. Good answer. All right. I trust AI to summarize a 60-minute meeting accurately enough to act on.
Yeah, I think if it's in summary, and particularly if you're part of the meeting and so on, you know what was said, and absolutely, it's an incredible tool for extracting that sort of stuff.
Okay. AI should be allowed to auto schedule meetings based on my calendar patterns.
Yeah, I'm hot on that. I think that I think maybe not quite perfect yet, but absolutely, I think some of that intelligence over time is in taking high friction out of the process. I think is absolutely a great opportunity.
All right. It's worth every penny to pay for an AI tool, even if your organization won't pay for it for you. So personally, pay for it yourself.
Yes, I think hot on that. Not necessarily for the specific application of what it'll do, but because it's forcing you into experimentation and learning and playing and so on. And that's such a critical proposition. You can't do this just by theory.
Yeah. All right. I like that. Here we go. Hot or cold. AI has had more impact to the world than smartphones in its short time.
Oh, that's a tough one. Maybe not quite yet, but they're two completely different propositions. And frankly, when you put the two of those things together, then there'll be some incredible power.
Yes. Good answer. Good answer. Because that is a tough one. Because, think about smartphone. We run our lives in it. It's our identity now, right? So, but look at what AI can do and is doing. So I like that.
Give it 5 years, and I absolutely think that AI will be the most transformational technology we've had. Now, of course, in 5 years' time, we might be talking quantum and some other things. But as far as life cycle, we're well beyond where we were with smartphone a couple of years into smartphone, and so from a potential standpoint, way more than smartphone.
Great. All right. Now just a couple of AV-based ones. I trust AI to triage my support tickets, from categorizing to routing to suggesting fixes. Think of it, chatbot, but AI running the entire support cycle for you.
Hot on that, to the point of reinventing service workflow and enabling a better outcome. Let's face it, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that's not a great workflow, but it was a necessary one in the past, but not to the expense of having a human part of that process.
Yeah. Kind of a two-parter, but it's the same question, hot or cold. AI room agents, voice automation will become the standard in all spaces. And here it is. That's yes or no. And then in less than 3 years.
To some degree, yes. I'd be hot on that. An agent is like a person to some degree. What they're doing, exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it will vary. But I think it's impossible to see that there won't be some degree of impact in 99% of environments.
Okay. And then last one, and here's the controversial one. AV programmers will no longer be required in the next 5 years due to AI.
Cold in the sense that the way they work right now perhaps will differ greatly, but I don't think that they are removed. I think things like MCP and so on that are driven by context rather than perfect API string will become the foundation to control, and ultimately the human factor will be mapping the contextual workflow that the user was looking to achieve, as opposed to writing perfect strings and creating perfect buttons.
Correct. Yeah, good answer, because that was kind of a trick question, because on the surface, I could say an answer. I could argue, yes, AV programmers will be dead, or at least, if you want to be successful in your career or take it. But I don't necessarily think it's dead, but it's going to change. The programmers who can leverage AI don't have to sit there and write in simple all day long just to get a light to go, when they can actually let the AI connect. Oh, I have a Lutron lighting with a Crestron control. Great. You do this, and here's how I want it. And using English typing to be the programming, which allows for that more smart campus automation. So I think it changes of what a programmer, and that's where,
I also think the lens or the landscape gets much wider. I think that we've talked about building automation for years and so on, and never the two have met in most instances between AV and building automation. I think the entire experience will become more integrated, and so the potential for those programmers to go further and wider in creating much broader experiences will grow. And let me just sort of add one thing. I think if you're a programmer at the moment, you could argue that programming has been under threat for a while, as we've replaced the control in 80% of rooms with an MTR screen or something. But I actually think that there's huge opportunity, not just in that external, but programmers' capacity to become an integral resource internally within your organization in workflow and being the most digitally native, the most capable of taking on some of this AI automation and workflow opportunity is huge. So I'd say the future is incredibly bright for what have been traditionally the Crestron programmers, but it will be a very different way of thinking in the future.
100%. I love that. All right, the last question. Everyone gets the same last one, and this is you get 1 minute. If you had your own podcast, which you actually do, we can promote that. But there's a NEXXT podcast. Everyone go and find it. Turns out they had a great guest at one point. Anyway, You had your own show on anything. Doesn't have to be AI, doesn't have to be AV. If you had your own show to talk about anything you want and you had to do the monologue for that show, you got 1 minute. Your time starts now. What would you talk about?
Well, I do have a podcast, The Next Question, so go look for that. As boring as it sounds, that it would be what I'm doing. It's this. My good friend Julian Phillips talks about the fact that we have this incredible moment, that it's a privilege for us to be in this moment of change, of opportunity, somewhere between technology, which is what we're all passionate about, and having human impact. And so to some degree, I'm living that at the moment in building NEXXT and the podcast and the community and the types of discussions and events and so on that we're having. So perhaps a bit boring, but maybe that's the point of trying to promote NEXXT in this moment.
You know what? I love it. That is an acceptable answer, because I say it too. Everyone's like, what do you do on your time off? I'm like, I work, because I love it. I was like, how do you write all these articles? How do you have time? I'm like, that's my therapy, actually. Like, if people who go biking every day take an hour to go biking, you wouldn't say, how do you find time to do it? Because it's their hobby. I write like, so 100%. I love that answer. That means then that shows that we're going the right direction. I love this.
Look, that's been the advice to my kids all along. Yeah, too many people end up in a job that just pays the bills. If you can find something that you love to do, and it's an old adage, but if you can find something that you love to do, then find a way of making money and so on. I quit architecture and went into theatre stage management, which was never going to make my fortune, but then found my way to AV and found the comparisons of management and technology and creativity and so on together. And so,
yep,
go find what you love to do. And AI has never been a better moment than to go and try and do that.
Love it. I love it. Really quickly, how can people find you? I will put your LinkedIn, and I'll put, of course, the link to NEXXT and as well as the show in the show notes. But how can people get a hold of you in case they're not reading the show notes and they're listening?
For sure. Well, obviously LinkedIn, Byron Tarry, not that hard to find there. You can email me, Byron Tarry, all one word, at nextnow.com. Website, www.nextnow.com. And frankly, if you can't find me in all those places, then you probably need to start figuring out the web a bit more.
You could let AI do it. There you go.
Indeed. Yeah, go do it. Go do an AI search for me. You'll probably find me as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining. This was such a great conversation. I love chatting with you. And I love what you're doing with NEXXT. I love our HEPMA and NEXXT Alliance partnership, and looking forward to everyone again. We'll see you all at ISE. And as you all know, you can find me on all the socials at Josiah Way, and find HEPMA_org on all of the socials, and at Hired AV. And as always, none of the opinions expressed here are those of any of our respected institutions, any companies, sponsors, or really anyone who wants to sue us. If you want to sue us, this had nothing to do with you. And if you didn't like any of these opinions, well, there may be better ones next time.